Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are wading into something that many of you have flagged as probably the single most challenging part of professional life,
Hmm.
and that's managing the expectations and, the relationships with the people who pay for your work, your clients.
It is the engine room of any service business, really,
Mhm.
but it's also, I find, the main source of friction.
Totally. It's not just about being polite. It's about managing scope, protecting your team's time, and, well, making sure the business is actually profitable.
It is, and our sources, I mean, we've got a stack of excellent professional communication guides and client relationship playbooks. They all confirm it. This is where deadlines crush, expectations just diverge.
And stress levels go through the roof.
Yeah, we've all had that client who wants something delivered yesterday, or the one who expects, 10 hours of work for a 1-hour budget.
Absolutely. And that is exactly why we gathered all this material. Our mission for this deep dive is to give you a shortcut to mastering the strategies and, more importantly, the specific language you need for this kind of high-stakes client management.
Right. We're going to cover the whole life cycle. So how to establish solid boundaries right from day one, how to handle those really difficult conversations when things go sideways.
Which they always do.
They often do. And crucially, how to find strategic compromises without just, giving away your time or your profit margin. This is less about customer service and more about professional leverage.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's a huge skill set. Where do we start? What's the groundwork?
Well, the sources often start by making a really clear distinction between a customer and a client. And that difference actually changes how you manage them.
Okay, tell me more.
So when we talk about customers, we're usually talking about transactional relationships, people buying a defined product. The interaction is shorter. The scope is pretty much fixed.
But a client, that's where it gets more complicated.
That's where it gets complex. A client is someone you provide a service for. You're delivering specialized expertise, often over a long time. It's subjective.
So satisfaction's less tangible than, say, just handing over a product.
Exactly. It involves trust, communication, managing feelings, really. And that's why the sources call the whole process client management. They call it the tricky art of ensuring satisfaction while protecting your own business.
Right. Which brings us to what feels like the foundation of it all. Setting expectations.
Yeah.
Proactively.
Yes. You can't wait for the work to start. You have to establish what the client wants and expects from the relationship right away, long before the first deadline even appears on the horizon.
It's basically risk mitigation, isn't it?
It's pure risk mitigation. If you've defined success and you've documented it, you have a reference point when things get tough.
So what are the actual phrases? What do you say in that first meeting?
Well, instead of just asking about tasks, you should ask about their bigger goal. Something like, what does a successful partnership look like for you in 6 months?
I like that framing. A successful partnership. It immediately makes it feel like you're on the same team. It's less transactional.
It is. And then you have to nail down the procedural stuff. It's not just what you deliver, but how. A great question is, what can we do to make sure things run smoothly on your side?
On your side. So from their perspective.
Right. And once you understand that, you have to check your plans against their expectations. That's the alignment step.
Okay, so you might say something like, we're looking to deliver the first part of the project by the end of the month. Is that in line with your expectations?
Exactly. In line with is great phrasing. And you also need to explain how you work. This is so important for avoiding conflict further down the line.
Because if they think a revision takes a day, but your internal process takes a week.
You've got a huge problem before you've even started.
So how do you phrase that without sounding rigid?
You frame it as a benefit to them, a quality measure. We usually allocate a week to make improvements based on client feedback. Will that work on your end? You're explaining your standard process.
That makes it sound deliberate, not just like you're being slow.
Exactly. Now, setting expectations is the start, but you have to keep the relationship going. The sources all stress this idea of keeping communicating.
You can't just set it and forget it.
No, you have to have regular, structured catch-ups, not just about tasks, but about the health of the relationship. Are we still on the same page? Is anything worrying you?
And this is where honesty comes in, especially when there's bad news. We heard from colleagues in the sources that avoiding bad surprises is maybe the most important part of building trust.
Oh, absolutely. If you see a problem coming, a delay, a technical issue, you have to flag that up very, very quickly. The key isn't that problems don't happen.
It's how you communicate them.
It's how fast and how professionally you communicate them. I mean, think about it. Telling a client on Tuesday you might miss Friday's deadline is completely different from telling them on Monday that you did miss it.
The first one lets them plan. The second one is just a crisis.
Right. You have to frame it around impact and a solution, not just, we have a problem. It should be, due to X, we think there might be a 2-day delay on Y. To compensate, we propose Z. It instantly shifts the focus to collaborative problem solving.
Okay, that's preventative maintenance. But
Yeah.
let's move into the crisis zone. What happens when, you know, despite everything, the client is just unhappy?
The key, according to all the sources, is to stay professional and not get defensive. Don't get into an argument about who's right. Your focus has to shift immediately back to understanding what they're feeling.
So what are the first words out of your mouth? What are the de-escalation phrases?
You start by acknowledging their feeling. I'm sorry we didn't meet your expectations on this. Now notice you're apologizing for the disappointment, not necessarily admitting you did everything wrong.
Oh, that's a subtle but important difference.
It is. Then you immediately ask for specifics. What can we improve on to get this right? How can things work better for you?
But doesn't apologizing right away, even for their disappointment, sort of validate a complaint that might be wrong?
That's a great question. But the apology isn't an admission of failure. It's a social tool. It's just to lower the emotional temperature. You're saying, I value our relationship, and I regret that you feel this way.
And once the emotion is dialed down, then you can talk facts.
Precisely. Then you can say, if we look back at the original brief, we agreed on X. But I hear you loud and clear that Y is now critical. So let's talk about how we bridge that gap.
And you follow that up with reassurance, right?
Yes, professional reassurance.
Yeah.
Something like, we'll be sure to avoid this problem in the future. Or, a bit more formally, I've shared your feedback with the team and rest assured this won't happen again. Rest assured just means be sure.
Okay. Now for the really tough one, the one that I think drains people the most. Unrealistic expectations. The client is paying, but they want things too fast, or they keep adding changes. Scope creep.
This is where you really earn your client management stripes. The dilemma is you have to keep them happy, they're paying the bills, but you can't let them waste your team's time or do more work than was agreed.
So you have to say no without actually saying the word no.
You've hit the nail on the head. And the strategy for that is compromise. You use what's sometimes called the iron triangle: scope, time, and cost. The trick is to figure out what the client's actual priority is, because they can almost never have all three.
So if they demand a tighter deadline, that's time. You immediately have to ask what else they're willing to give up.
Exactly. You present them with the trade-off. You say, we can absolutely accelerate the delivery date, but to do that, we'll have to remove the final quality check. Or, alternatively, we can keep the full scope and quality, but that would require an adjustment to the budget to bring on more people.
That's so powerful. You're not saying no, you're saying yes, but here's the cost. It's a strategic compromise.
And that takes patience. You have to try and see it from their point of view. Why are they suddenly panicking? Is their boss breathing down their neck? If you understand their pressure, you can suggest the right trade-off.
And once you've agreed on this new plan, you have to confirm it, right?
Yes.
To make sure you're on the same page.
Always close the loop. Use an alignment check. Say something like, okay, before we move ahead with this revised plan, I just want to be sure we're on the same page about the final deliverables.
So everyone knows what's happening. But sometimes, even with all this care, the problem just it doesn't go away, or the client's demands are just too much for you to handle on your own.
And that is the moment for professional escalation. Time to talk to your boss, especially if a client is so demanding that it's impacting your other work.
And the sources are really clear on this. When you go to your boss, you have to be professional. You can't just go in there and moan about the client.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Your boss isn't there to hear a complaint. They're there to help with the company's strategy. You need to frame it as a strategic problem.
So you need phrases that lay out the problem, the impact, and then ask for guidance.
Exactly. You start with, can I flag a problem with this project? Or, how would you like me to respond to requests for extra work?
And what if the relationship itself is just becoming unmanageable?
Then you need to articulate the bigger cost. You could ask, what's the best approach with this client? I want to keep them happy, but they're quite a demanding client, and it's impacting other work.
That phrasing is great. It clearly states the problem, a demanding client impacting other projects, while still showing your goal is to find a professional solution. Then your boss can step in.
With the bigger picture. Exactly.
Oh, wow. This has been incredibly useful. We've gone from just defining the relationship all the way through to negotiating compromises and professionally escalating when needed.
I think what we really learned today is that this is about moving from being reactive to being proactive. It's about being a strategic partner, not just a service provider. So clarifying expectations early, being honest about problems, and always staying professional.
And if we had to boil it down to a final set of skills from the sources, the formula seems pretty clear. It's about deep listening, radical honesty, and the patience to find a good compromise.
These are not soft skills. They are high-level communication strategies that protect your time and, frankly, your sanity.
So, what does this all mean for you listening? Now that you have this vocabulary, this roadmap for handling difficult client situations, you can start applying that confidence internally. So your next step might be to think about how you can use the same kind of clear, persuasive framing.
Hmm.
You know, the ability to state a problem, its impact, and a solution when you need to confidently pitch your ideas at work or maybe argue for more resources inside your own company.
That's a great point. The ability to manage stakeholders, whether they're outside the company or inside, it requires the exact same skill set. It's a really powerful